The Mojave Desert, 50,000 square miles of desolate, unforgiving country. In the easternmost part of the Mojave Desert lies the Mojave National Preserve and a trail known as the Mojave Road, a historic 147-mile-long route passing through some of the most beautiful and barren landscape in the United States. In February of 2017, I set out to join a group of fellow turtleback trailer owners known as the Herd on their overland traverse of this trail. After a rendezvous with the main herd just outside of Needles, California, we aired down and struck out westward across the trail, etched into the desert landscape by intrepid travelers dating back centuries before. The Mojave Road began as a travel route for the CIMA, a nomadic people who subsisted off of the desert's prickly pear, mesquite, and roasted agave blooms while hunting the occasional deer and bighorn sheep. The trail eventually evolved into a trading route for the local Mojave tribes before becoming a central part of the Old Spanish Trail, a route from New Mexico to California used by Mexican traders in the 1830s. In 1848, the land passed into American hands, and in 1858, the route became known as the Mojave Trail. Soon, settlers and fortune seekers alike would brave its barren environment bound for California. It wasn't long before hostilities broke out between the westbound settlers and the Mojave natives, resulting in the military setting up forts along its route. The key to controlling hostile natives was simple in this land: control the water and you control the people. So forts were strategically placed to do just that. After some time wandering through the ruins of Fort Paiute and the nearby Paiute Spring, we made contact with some latecomers to the convoy on the group's designated 2-meter frequency and began vectoring towards the meetup point. The Mojave Road has a few must-see roadside attractions along its route, like this abandoned bus and classic car. What was once someone's junk is now a desert's treasure, serving as a unique mile marker along its path with what must be one interesting untold story. With winds expected to rise in the night, we left the main trail and made our way north to a somewhat sheltered campsite, collecting our latest set of desert pinstriping along the way. With the desert temperatures quickly plummeting, our herd of turtles squeezed into the spaces between boulders and low trees and began the short process of setting up camp for the night. When traveling solo, I like to keep my fare simple and nutritious, so steak and macaroni were soon sizzling and bubbling on the slide-out kitchen stovetop. It was about now that I realized I'd forgotten the salad. Oh well. After the required daily intake of caffeine and bacon, we were again westbound and soon arrived at Rock Spring, another source of life-giving water along the historical route. Remnants of stone wall fortifications can be seen where soldiers were stationed to help monitor and control any hostile natives. The conditions here were brutal and the springs are very unreliable, so it isn't surprising that 23 of the 73 soldiers garrisoned here deserted. Due to the unreliability of rock spring, wells, or government holes as they are known, were sunk a mile west of its location. This one is still active today, though its current benefactors seem to be a bit less hostile. After a quick stop at the Hole-in-the-Wall Visitor Center, we continued our journey, skirting the base of Marl Mountains and navigating the thousands of whoops along this portion of the trail. Who knew you could get seasick in the desert? After miles and miles and miles of incessant rolling mounds of dirt and sand, we arrived at another roadside attraction, the Mojave Mailbox. Placed here in 1983 by a conservation organization known as the Friends of the Mojave Road, this steel box is filled with journal entries from desert travelers looking to leave their mark, along with some random artifacts. Just a short walk into the desert from the mailbox are several more curiosities, including a community of frog figurines, a tribute collection of jeeps, a small colony of desert gnomes, and a gaggle of bobbleheads. With the sun beginning to set, we again made our way off the trail in search of camp for the night amongst the cinder cone lava beds rising from the desert floor. After a delicious and, yet again, healthy supper, we all gathered around the fire and shared a few tasty beverages while telling Overland stories until late into the night. It's always amazing to see such quick friendships develop within the Overland community, and this Herd of Turtles group is no exception. The next morning I was awake early and set out to explore the surrounding lava fields. There are 32 cinder cones, or tiny volcanoes, in this area of the Mojave Desert. While most of these are very old, some studies suggest there's evidence that some of these flows are only 2,000 to 10,000 years old. It boggles the mind to consider what life might have been like for the locals when their already tough desert survival lifestyle was suddenly made slightly more challenging by earthquakes and lava eruptions. And you thought you were having a bad day. If you look close enough, there are traces of a thriving ecosystem, even in the middle of this barren lava field, on top of a mostly barren desert. Meanwhile, back at the camp, the rest of the herd had begun to stir in preparation for one last stop before rolling home. But it seemed our departure was going to have to wait while we extracted a member from a unique predicament. I would try and explain how this happened, but let's just chalk it up to the unpredictable spirit of the desert. Okay, don't laugh. We've all been between a rock and a hard place at some point in our lives. Being the kind and understanding folk that we are, the team jumped in and freed the individual without a single joke or wisecrack.
I'm so proud. You want to take this home? Put it in the front yard?
Okay, no one is perfect. After a rocky start to our day, we were finally underway and made the short run to the CIMA Cave lava tube. Lava tubes are formed when the top of the flow, exposed to cooler air, would cool while the liquid lava continued to move underneath, creating a tunnel. When the eruption ends, the flowing lava in the tunnel usually cools in place, but sometimes the tunnel is empty, leaving a hollow lava tube. If you time your visit just right, the piercing sunlight from the surface above creates an incredible beam for some awesome photo opportunities. While we'd only scratched the surface of what the Mojave has to offer, it was time for most of the herd members to head home. Before we all departed, Dave Munsterman, the owner and mastermind behind Turtleback Trailers, took a few moments to speak to the herd.
So, anyway, I just wanted to just take a couple minutes to thank y'all for coming to the trip. I want to thank Winter for being the stand-in and taking care of the trail. He's still pro. together. So this is kind of like our first herd of turtles adventure trip. I deem it like a huge success. I think it was really great, and it's just so cool that we could all get out here and do this. You know, we get to know each other and go on the next trip. You know, go on the next trip. The kids grow up together. It's just good stuff. So I just really want to thank y'all for coming out on this. And I just wanted to kind of tie it up today.
With our tire pressure topped off and fuel gauges bottomed out, we hit the hard road and made our way towards Baker, California for fuel and food before heading to our respective corners of the Southwest. This trip was the first of many to come for the Turtleback Trailer Herd, and we can't wait to see where we go next in these incredibly capable, purpose-built trailers. For more information on the different models offered by Turtleback Trailers, see the link in the video description or go to www.turtlebacktrailers.com.